There's one fact that concerns many cardiologists. The danger isn't just having high blood pressure. What's even more concerning is that many people take their blood pressure medication faithfully every single day. Yet seemingly harmless habits quietly reduce how well those medications work. They believe that taking their pills on schedule is enough to protect their health. Then one morning, without warning, they become dizzy, collapse at home, or end up in the emergency room because their blood pressure suddenly spikes and they have no idea why. If you're taking blood pressure medication every day, don't skip what I'm about to share. Making just one of the 4 common mistakes we'll discuss today could undermine years of treatment without you ever realizing it. I still vividly remember a patient named Mr. Hung, now in his early 70s. For nearly 10 years he never missed a dose of his medication. His family felt reassured because they believed he was doing everything right to protect his health. But one morning, as he got out of bed, the room suddenly began to spin. His legs became weak, and he collapsed onto the floor. Fortunately, a family member found him quickly and rushed him to the hospital. What surprised everyone was that he hadn't forgotten to take his medication. In fact, he had been taking it exactly as prescribed. So what went wrong? After a thorough evaluation, his doctor discovered that the problem wasn't the medication itself, it was the way he had been using it every day. Small habits, repeated over many years, who had gradually made his treatment less effective for the condition his body was in today. This is something I see all the time when caring for older adults. Some people assume that if a medication has worked for years, it must still be the right one. Others trust how they feel more than the numbers on their blood pressure monitor. Some even adjust their dose on their own simply because today's reading is a little higher than yesterday's. These decisions all come from a desire to stay healthy, but unfortunately, they can sometimes do more harm than good. Think of your body as a garden that has weathered many seasons. When the garden is young, the soil is rich, the plants are strong, and everything adapts easily. But as the years pass, the soil becomes drier, the roots grow weaker, and the way you care for the garden must gradually change. The human body is no different. As we age, the heart, kidneys, liver, and blood vessels all change. What worked well a few years ago may no longer be the best approach today. That's why managing high blood pressure is about much more than simply taking a pill every day. It's about understanding what your body needs at each stage of life. Many people only pay attention to their blood pressure when they visit the doctor, but between appointments, the body is constantly changing. One sleepless night, a hot summer day, a salty meal, or even stress from family matters can cause your blood pressure to fluctuate far more than you might expect. If we fail to recognize those changes, it's like steering a boat down a river without knowing whether the current is calm or rushing. At first, everything may seem fine, but when an unexpected wave appears, it becomes much easier to lose control. The good news is that most of these mistakes are completely preventable. You don't need more expensive medications. You don't need complicated treatments. Sometimes, making one small change in the way you take your medication can significantly reduce your risk of stroke, heart failure, and other serious complications later in life. In today's discussion, I'm going to walk you through the 4 most common mistakes that many people make every single day. You may be surprised to discover that someone you love has unknowingly been making one of them. Very first mistake is the one I've encountered most often. Throughout my years of caring for patients with high blood pressure, it sounds incredibly simple, yet it has sent countless people to the hospital completely by surprise. So what is this common mistake? Let's find out. The first mistake I want to talk about today isn't forgetting to take your medication, and it isn't taking the wrong medication. It's something even more common. Taking your blood pressure medicine every day but rarely, if ever, checking your blood pressure. At first, many of you might think, I feel fine. I take my medication every day. Why would I need to check my blood pressure regularly? That way of thinking has led far too many people into preventable health emergencies. I once cared for a retired school teacher. She was incredibly organized. Every week she sorted her medications into a pill organizer, making sure each day's doses were ready. She never missed a single pill. For years, she took pride in being the perfect patient who followed her doctor's instructions faithfully. Then one morning, while watering flowers in her yard, she suddenly felt the world spinning around her. Her vision blurred, and she had to grab onto a wall to keep from falling. Her first thought was that her blood pressure had become dangerously high, but when her family checked it with a home monitor, the reading told a completely different story. Her blood pressure was actually much lower than normal. That was the moment everyone realized an important truth. Feeling dizzy doesn't always mean your blood pressure is too high, and taking your medication consistently doesn't guarantee that your blood pressure will always stay within a healthy range. The human body isn't a clock that runs at exactly the same pace every day. Your heart works under different conditions every single day. Some nights you sleep well. Other nights you barely sleep at all. Some days are hot and humid. Others turn cold almost overnight. Some days you feel relaxed and happy. On other days, a simple family concern can leave you stressed for hours. Every one of these factors can affect your blood pressure. yet many people continue taking the exact same medication, in the exact same way, year after year, like wearing the same old clothes without noticing that their body has changed. It's like driving on a long road trip without ever looking at the fuel gauge. The car keeps moving, everything seems perfectly fine until the engine suddenly stalls in the middle of the road. Blood pressure works much the same way. If you don't know where your numbers are today, taking medication can sometimes feel like walking through the dark without a flashlight. Some people continue taking the same dose even after their blood pressure has dropped too low, leaving them with prolonged low blood pressure that can cause weakness, dizziness, and falls. Others have blood pressure that has been creeping higher for weeks, but they never notice it. They only seek medical attention after developing a severe headache, shortness of breath, or another alarming symptom. By then, treatment can become much more difficult. The unfortunate part is that many of these situations could have been caught early if we simply spent a few minutes each day listening to what our bodies are telling us through accurate blood pressure readings. I often tell my patients that a home blood pressure monitor isn't something that should sit forgotten in a closet. It's a valuable partner in protecting your health. It tells you how your heart is working today. It helps detect small changes before they become major medical problems. Don't wait until you feel exhausted before checking your blood pressure. Don't wait until you develop a headache. As we reach middle age and beyond, checking our blood pressure should become as natural as brushing our teeth or drinking a glass of water each morning. But checking your blood pressure the right way is just as important as checking it regularly. Many people measure it immediately after a walk. Others do it right after climbing a flight of stairs. Some even check it just minutes after drinking coffee or smoking a cigarette. Those readings can be misleading. For the most accurate results, sit quietly for several minutes before taking your measurement. Stay relaxed, support your arms so it's at heart level, and then begin the reading if possible. Measure your blood pressure at the same time each day, and write the numbers down in a small notebook or record them in an app. Don single quotes. Do think of keeping a record as a chore. Those readings give your doctor a much clearer picture of your health than a single measurement taken during an office visit. One of my patients, a lifelong farmer, once shared a piece of wisdom that has stayed with me. He said, "If you want to know whether your rice field is healthy, you have to walk through it every day. If you wait until harvest time to look, it's already too late." I believe the same is true for our health. If you want to know whether your heart is truly being protected, don't wait until your next doctor's appointment. Pay attention to it every day with consistency, awareness, and patience. Sometimes, something as simple as checking your blood pressure regularly can help prevent a life-changing emergency. Now let's move on to the second mistake. This is one that many people make because they're genuinely trying to take better care of themselves. They believe they're being extra cautious, but in reality, they may be putting themselves at even greater risk. The second mistake I want to talk about today comes from something that's completely understandable. It's relying too much on how you feel over the years. I've heard many patients say things like, "Doctor, I know my body. If I get even a slight headache, I can tell my blood pressure is high." Others confidently tell me, "I don't need to check it. I can feel when my blood pressure changes." If that were always true, life would be much simpler. Unfortunately, the human body doesn't always send clear or accurate signals. There are days when blood pressure rises to dangerously high levels without causing any symptoms at all. On the other hand, there are times when fatigue, dizziness, or lightheadedness has nothing to do with blood pressure. It may simply be caused by poor sleep, overexertion, dehydration, or skipping breakfast. Yet many people immediately assume their blood pressure is high and take an extra dose of medication. That one quick decision can sometimes be the beginning of a serious problem. I remember a farmer who was nearly 70 years old. Every morning, he woke up early to tend the garden behind his home. One hot summer day, after working outside in the sun for about an hour, he started feeling lightheaded. He was tired and sweating heavily. His first thought was that his blood pressure must be high. He didn't check it. He didn't sit down to rest. He didn't drink any water. Instead, he went inside and took an extra blood pressure pill. About 30 minutes later, he could barely stand. His legs were shaking. His vision became blurry. His body felt cold and weak. When he arrived at the hospital, doctors discovered that his blood pressure had dropped to a dangerously low level. The real problem wasn't high blood pressure at all. He who had become dehydrated after working in the heat. Taking an extra dose of medication caused his blood pressure to fall even further. Fortunately, he received emergency treatment in time. Not everyone is that lucky. Some people make a decision in just a few minutes that leads to months of recovery afterward. That's why I want you to remember this. Feeling tired doesn't automatically mean your blood pressure is the problem. Feeling dizzy doesn't necessarily mean your blood pressure is too high. Even a headache isn't always related to your heart or blood pressure. Sometimes your body is simply telling you that you need more water. Sometimes your blood sugar is low because you skipped a meal. Sometimes it's nothing more than the effects of a sleepless night or prolonged stress. If you start taking extra medication before you know the real cause, it's like trying to repair a clock without knowing what's actually broken. You might fix the problem or you might make it much worse. So what should you do when you're not feeling well? First, don't panic. Find a comfortable place to sit. Relax your body. Take a slow, deep breath in. Exhale gently. Drink a few sips of water. Then check your blood pressure with your monitor. It only takes a few minutes, but those few minutes can save you from making a dangerous decision. If your blood pressure reading is still within the target range recommended by your doctor, there's a good chance something else is causing your symptoms instead of taking extra medication on your own. Continue to monitor how you feel and contact your healthcare provider if the symptoms persist or worsen. Another piece of advice I always give my patients is to keep a consistent daily routine. Take your medication at the same time every day. Eat a healthy breakfast. Go to bed on time. Avoid staying up late and don't let yourself become extremely hungry or dehydrated. These habits sound simple, but they can make a remarkable difference in keeping your blood pressure stable. I once cared for two patients who were about the same age and had both lived with high blood pressure for nearly 10 years. One followed a disciplined routine. He took his medication on schedule every day, ate balanced meals, checked his blood pressure regularly, and never changed his treatment without talking to his doctor. The other relied almost entirely on how he felt. If he felt fine, he skipped his medication. If he felt unwell, he took extra pills. After just a few years, the difference between them was striking. The first patient continued to enjoy an active life. He could shop for groceries, spend time with his grandchildren, and remain independent. The second patient had been hospitalized several times because of dramatic swings in his blood pressure. The difference wasn't the medication. It wasn't genetics. It wasn't genetics. Which came down to how each person chose to manage their health. So remember this one important principle. Your feelings are only clues. Your blood pressure reading is the evidence you should base your decisions on. Don't let fear guide your choices. Let accurate information and sound medical advice protect your heart, because one small habit you change today could help prevent a life-changing medical emergency tomorrow. Now, let's move on to the third mistake. This is one that even the most careful people often make. They never miss a dose, and they always take their medication on time but without realizing it. They're doing something that can quietly throw their blood pressure out of balance over the long term. The third mistake that many people make comes from a belief that seems perfectly reasonable at first. My blood pressure is a little higher than usual today. Maybe I should take an extra half pill. Or the opposite. My blood pressure has been great for the past few days. I probably don't need my full dose anymore. It may seem like a small decision, but it can disrupt the stability your body has taken months or even years to achieve. I remember a patient named Mr. Min, who was 72 years old. He was a very careful man. Every morning, the first thing he did after waking up was check his blood pressure. One day, the reading was slightly higher than usual. He became worried. Only one thought crossed his mind: if I take one more pill, my blood pressure will come down faster. He didn't call his doctor. He didn't monitor it any further. He didn't stop to consider that he had stayed up most of the previous night caring for his grandchild, who had a fever. Instead, he increased his medication on his own. By that afternoon, he felt extremely weak. He was unsteady on his feet, and he had trouble thinking clearly. His son had to take him to the hospital. After examining him, the doctor explained that one slightly elevated blood pressure reading doesn't necessarily mean anything is wrong. Many different factors can temporarily affect reading. A poor night's sleep. Emotionally stressful conversation. A meal that's unusually high in sodium. Or simply taking your blood pressure right after physical activity. If you change your medication based on just one number, you may actually cause your blood pressure to fluctuate even more. One of the biggest misconceptions is that the lower your blood pressure is, the better. That simply isn't true. Imagine your circulatory system as the irrigation system for a large garden. Your heart is the pump, your blood vessels are the pipes, and your brain, heart, kidneys, and other organs are the plants that depend on a steady supply of water every day. If the water pressure becomes too low, the water can't reach every part of the garden. The plants begin to wilt. The same thing happens inside your body when blood pressure drops too low because someone increases their medication. Without medical guidance, less blood reaches the brain. That's why some people feel dizzy every time they stand up. They become unsteady when walking. They lose their balance more easily, or they notice that their memory isn't as sharp as it used to be. Many people assume these are simply normal signs of aging, but sometimes they're actually warning signs that the brain isn't receiving enough blood. And it's not just the brain. Your heart needs blood to nourish itself. Your kidneys need blood to filter waste effectively. If blood pressure remains too low for an extended period, these vital organs are forced to function with an inadequate blood supply. The damage doesn't happen overnight. It builds quietly over days, weeks, and months. By the time symptoms become obvious, treatment is often much more difficult. I often remind my patients of one important truth. Managing high blood pressure isn't a competition to see who can achieve the lowest number. The real goal is stability. Stable blood pressure is what protects your heart. Stable blood pressure keeps your brain supplied with the oxygen and nutrients it needs. And stable blood pressure is one of the best ways to reduce your risk of stroke. If you notice that your blood pressure is higher than usual one day, your first reaction shouldn't be to take extra medication. Stay calm, sit quietly for 5 to 10 minutes, then check it again if it's still elevated. Continue monitoring it over the next several days at about the same time each day. A pattern of readings collected over several days is far more meaningful than a single measurement. Your doctor will use those trends, not one isolated. Number 2, decide whether your medication needs to be adjusted. On the other hand, if your blood pressure remains consistently lower than the target your doctor has recommended, or if you're experiencing frequent dizziness, extreme fatigue, or feeling faint when you stand up, you also shouldn't stop taking your medication on your own. Suddenly stopping blood pressure medication can sometimes be even more dangerous than taking the wrong dose. The safest approach is to contact your healthcare provider so your treatment can be evaluated properly. There's one lesson I hope you'll always remember. Blood pressure medication is not like a pain reliever. Can take a pain medication when you have pain and stop when the pain goes away. Blood pressure medication is different. It's part of a long-term plan to protect your heart, brain, kidneys, and overall health. Any change, whether increasing or decreasing the dose, should be made only for a clear medical reason and under appropriate supervision. Sometimes, patience is the most important medicine of all. Don't let anxiety make decisions for you. Let consistent blood pressure readings over time and the guidance of your healthcare provider lead the way. Because one extra pill taken in a moment of worry can leave your body struggling for weeks or even months to regain its balance. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, there's one mistake that's even more dangerous, and countless older adults make it every day. It's combining multiple prescription medications, dietary supplements, and herbal remedies without realizing how they may interact with one another. That's the fourth and final mistake, and it's especially important if you're taking 3 or more medications every day. And now we've reached the fourth and final mistake. This is the one that concerns me the most because it happens quietly. It doesn't cause immediate pain. It doesn't trigger an instant reaction, but over time, it can reduce the effectiveness of your treatment and gradually weaken your health without you even realizing it. The mistake is taking too many medications, dietary supplements, or products advertised as being heart healthy, brain boosting, or blood pressure supporting all at the same time without first talking to your doctor. I once cared for a woman in her late 60s. Every time she came in for a follow-up visit, she brought a large bag filled with medications. When she emptied it onto the exam table, it was almost completely covered. Along with her blood pressure medication, she had diabetes medicine, cholesterol medication, liver supplements, calcium, a multivitamin, fish oil, collagen, herbal extracts, and several dietary supplements recommended by friends and relatives. I asked her, "Do you remember why you're taking each of these?" She smiled and gently shook her head. Then she said, "Whenever someone tells me something is good for my health, I buy it. My children and grandchildren also give me supplements as gifts. It feels wasteful not to take them." Her answer stayed with me today. Buying medications and supplements has never been easier. You watch a commercial, you hear a recommendation, a friend shares a personal experience, and before long, many people believe that the more they take, the healthier they'll become. But the reality is often just the opposite. Every medication has a specific purpose. Once they enter your body, they don't work independently, they interact with one another. Some medications can increase the effects of others. Some can reduce how well another medication works. And certain combinations can increase the risk of low blood pressure, abnormal heart rhythms, or damage to the liver and kidneys without the patient ever knowing. As we get older, our bodies also process medications more slowly. The liver doesn't work as efficiently as it once did. The kidneys aren't able to filter waste as quickly. Over time, medications and active ingredients can remain in the body longer, placing an increasing burden on your organs. Think of it like a truck that's already traveled hundreds of thousands of miles. If you keep loading heavier and heavier cargo onto it every day, the engine has to work harder and harder. At first, the truck still runs, but eventually, wear and tear begins to show. The human body is no different. Don't let the very pills that are supposed to protect your health become an unnecessary burden on your body. You're taking several different medications every day. Take a few minutes to review them. Which ones were prescribed by your doctor? Which ones did you buy on your own? Which ones are simply dietary supplements? Which ones have you been taking for years without remembering why you started? Reviewing your medication list can be just as important as taking your medications on time. I always encourage my patients to keep a small notebook, or even a simple printed list with the name of every medication, the dose, when it's taken, and why it's being used. Bring that list to every doctor's appointment and don't be afraid to ask questions like, do I still need this medication? Is it safe to take these two medications together? Should I continue taking this supplement? When it comes to your health, there is no such thing as a foolish question. A single question today could save you from months of treatment later. But beyond medications, there's another powerful treatment that no pharmacy can sell. It's your lifestyle, eating a little less salt, taking a gentle walk each morning, getting a full night's sleep, smiling a little more. Finding greater peace of mind. These habits may seem small, but together, they play a major role in keeping your blood pressure stable for years to come. Don't believe that everything depends on medication. Medication is only one part of the journey. Healthy lifestyle is the foundation that keeps your heart strong over the long term. If there's just one message I hope you remember from today's conversation, let it be this: don't continue treating your body with old habits when the body has already changed. Pay attention to your body every day. Check your blood pressure regularly. Don't make medication decisions based on how you feel alone. Never increase or decrease your dose without medical guidance, and don't add any medication or dietary supplement without first discussing it with your healthcare provider. By following these 4 simple principles, you can significantly reduce your risk of serious cardiovascular problems in the future. Before we finish, I'd like to ask you one question. Which of the 4 mistakes we discussed today have you experienced yourself? Or do you have a personal tip or story that could help others? Please share it in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to avoid an unnecessary trip to the hospital. If you found today's information helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future episodes every week. We'll continue sharing practical, easy to understand health information to help you care for your heart, protect your blood vessels, and enjoy a healthier, sharper, and more fulfilling life as you age. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. I wish you continued good health, lasting happiness, and many mornings that begin with a healthy heart, a peaceful mind, and a genuine smile. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.